Good morning, good morning, good morning. I trust all is well. As of late, God has been taking things from my ordinary day to day life and using it to reveal certain stuff to me. And it would be at the weirdest times when I'm doing the simplest things. Last night, I was standing to the sink washing dishes, and I started to think about my childhood. See, I was raised by both of my grandmothers. I lived with one, and I spent every summer of my childhood and some holidays with the other. And while I was washing the dishes, I remembered something that used to happen to me all the time as a child. I would hear someone calling my name, so I would go to either of my grandmothers and say, "Did you call me?" And she would say no. And I would go back to doing what I was doing and hear someone calling my name again. And I would ask her, "Did you call me?" And she would say, no, she hadn't. And I don't know if you've ever had an experience like that when you heard someone calling your name and then you went and the person said they weren't calling you. I smiled at that memory because that is specifically what happened in 1 Samuel chapter 3. Samuel was laying in bed and he heard his name being called, Samuel, Samuel. And he got up and he went to the prophet Eli because he assumed that Eli was calling him. But Eli hadn't been calling him, and it happened again and again. But finally, the prophet Eli realized what was happening and told Samuel, "The next time you hear the voice, say, 'Speak, Lord, your servant is listening.'" That story sat with me because Samuel wasn't struggling to hear, he was struggling to recognize who was speaking. And I think that sometimes we do the same thing. We ask God for direction, and when the answer comes, we don't always recognize His voice. Sometimes we mistake God's voice for our own thoughts. Sometimes we mistake it for fear. Sometimes we get it confused with what other people are telling us. And sometimes, just like Samuel, we're hearing it clearly. We just haven't learned to distinguish the voice yet. This is why discernment is so important. Being able to hear is one thing, but knowing who you're hearing is another. And I believe that that's something that we have to grow in. The more we spend time with God, the more familiar His voice becomes to us. Think about it like this: when you know someone's voice well, they don't have to keep introducing themselves to you every time they speak. You recognize their voice. And maybe that's what God is teaching some of us in this season, not to just hear Him, but to recognize Him. So the next time you feel a nudge, that conviction, that instruction to do something God is calling you to do, don't immediately dismiss it. Take it to God, test it against His word, and ask Him for discernment, because sometimes the question isn't, "God, are you speaking?" Sometimes the question we should be asking ourselves is, "God, am I recognizing your voice?" Speak, Lord. Your servant is listening. Continue to be encouraged. Continue to be uplifted. Continue to be blessed and have an amazing day.